Hello, everyone. It is already afternoon. It's snowing everywhere except for here. All that prep for snow. We may be getting some, but so far it's nice and warm outside, too. I mean, warm enough. And today is my youngest one's 25th birthday. Yeah, and I ended up saying 2022 in the other video. Anyway, so we're in Exodus 29 and we'll get right into it. Since I had to make my last birthday video, I'm a little behind with everything and I'm getting hungry. I want to eat something, which means I want to cook something. So, Exodus 29. The consecration of Aaron and his sons' preparations. This is what you will do to them, to consecrate them to my priesthood. Take 1 young bull and 2 rams without blemish, also unleavened bread, unleavened cakes mixed with oil, and unleavened wafers spread with oil, made from fine wheat flour, and put these into a basket and present them in the basket at the same time as the bull and the 2 rams. Alrighty then. Their purifications, clothing, and anointing. Presents. Oh, what a nice chapter to read on my daughter's birthday. Presents. Presents for God. You will bring Aaron and his sons to the entrance of the tent of meeting and bathe them. You will then take the vestments and dress Aaron in the tunic, the robe of the ephod, and the breastplate, and tie the waistband of the ephod around his waist. Then you will place the turban on his head, and on it put the symbol of holy consecration. You will then take the anointing oil and pour it on his head, and so anoint him. That's going to mess up the turban. It's going to be all oily. I don't know how much oil are they talking about. Probably just a little tiny bit. But still, that's going to stain the turban, won't it? Oh, okay. Next, you will bring his sons and dress them in tunics and fasten waistbands round their waists and put the headdresses on their heads. By perpetual decree, the priesthood will be theirs. Then you will invest Aaron and his sons. Oh, I guess they took off the head dressing real quick, and yeah, welcome. The offerings. You will bring the bull in front of the tent of meeting, and Aaron and his sons will lay their hands on the bull's head. You will then slaughter the bull before Yahweh at the entrance to the tent of meeting. You will then take some of the bull's blood and with your finger put it on the horns of the altar. Next, pour out the rest of the blood at the foot of the altar. And then take all the fat covering the entrails, the fatty mass over the liver, the 2 kidneys with their covering fat, and burn them on the altar. But the young bull's flesh, its skin, and its offal you will burn outside the camp, for this is a sin offering. This doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me, any of it, to tell you the truth. Sounds bloody and messy. But then, as I said, I've been told by someone that's just how they did it at that time. That was what... I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. Nope, not getting it. Next, you will take one of the rams, and Aaron and his sons will lay their hands on the ram's head. You will then slaughter the ram, take its blood, and pour it against the altar all around. Next, cut the ram into quarters, wash the entrails and legs, and put them on the quarters and head. Then burn the whole ram on the altar. This will be a burnt offering for Yahweh, a pleasing smell, a food offering burnt for Yahweh. Next, you will take the other ram, and Aaron and his sons will lay their hands on the ram's head. You will then slaughter the ram, take some of its blood, and put it on the lobe of Aaron's right ear, on the lobes of his sons' right ears, the thumbs of their right hands, and the big toes of their right feet, and pour the rest of the blood against the altar all around. You will then take some of the blood on the altar and some of the anointing oil and sprinkle it on Aaron and his vestments, and on his sons and on his sons' vestments, so that he and his vestments will be consecrated, and his sons too, and his sons' vestments. Okay, and that stays on there? That's going to have to start. Man, it's got to start to stink, doesn't it, over time? Or were they allowed to wash the garments afterwards? Or the vestments? I would do it. Okay, all right. It sounds so barbaric. I guess in a way, again, when I read this, everything within me goes, oh, no. There is one thing about having raised animals for food, goats and other animals, but goats were the biggest ones I raised for food. The one thing is when you prep them for food, you've got to drain the blood first, okay? That's what you do. And it keeps the meat clean as well, okay? It's one of those things that you just do. You drain the blood first. So, again, is God teaching a way where then, this is acceptable on how to prep meat, for example, right? Yes? And what should we also, did God needed to teach again his people on where their best should go, their best offering, where their heart to mind should be when it comes to all that, right? So is this again teaching about what it takes to be a part of God's life, and God can be a part of our life? Or is this really about slaughtering and blood and, you know what I mean? Yes? Okay. Blood. Also, what is blood? Blood is, we talk about blood lineage, right? Yes, blood relatives. Right? Of course, you don't sacrifice people, right? So the next best thing is what? Animals. Again, did this have more to do again with the blood, what the blood signifies, signals and signifies? I must assume so, right? Yes? So, anyway. But sounds like, okay, according to how they understood it, this is what needs to be done, and it gets done. Give the best so that the rest then can be blessed. The investiture of the priests. You will then take the fatty parts of the ram, we're not done yet, the tail, the fat covering the entrails, the fatty mass over the liver, the 2 kidneys, again, with their covering fat, and also the right thigh, for this is a ram of investiture. And a loaf of bread, a cake of bread made with oil, and a wafer from the basket of unleavened bread before Yahweh, and put it all on the palms of Aaron and his sons, and make the gesture of offering before Yahweh. Then you will take them back and burn them on the altar on top of the burnt offering, as a smell pleasing before Yahweh, a food offering burnt for Yahweh. the elements, parts of the elements. Again, how can God be a part of our lives? Okay, I'll go with that. Otherwise, I must believe that everything in here just doesn't sound quite right. You will then take the 4 quarters of the ram of Aaron's investiture, and with it make the gesture of offering before Yahweh. This will be your portion. You will consecrate the 4 quarters that have been thus offered, as also the thigh that is set aside. What has been offered and what has been set aside from the ram of investiture of Aaron and his sons. This, by perpetual decree, will be the portion that Aaron and his sons will receive from the Israelites, since it is the portion set aside. The portion set aside for Yahweh by the Israelites from their communion sacrifices. A portion set aside for Yahweh. Oh. I could say it sounds like it isn't just about Yahweh. It's not just about God. He cares for the people caring for him. And consistency. Consistency in the belief, consistency in faith is very important. Commitment. As I said, is God teaching the people here to get away, right, from what? 400 years of being around, right? False gods. And it had to be, I guess it had to make some, I say that. It was important that it made an impact in people's minds. Aaron's sacred vestments must pass to his sons after him, and they will wear them for their anointing and investiture. Whichever of the sons of Aaron succeeds him in the priesthood and enters the tent of meeting to serve in the sanctuary will wear them for 7 days. Oh. The sacred meal. You will take the ram of investiture and cook its meat in a holy place. Aaron and his sons will eat the meat of the ram and the bread which is in the basket at the entrance to the tent of meeting. They will eat what was used in making expiation for them of their investiture and consecration. No unauthorized person may eat these. They are holy things. If any of the meat from the investiture sacrifice or the bread should be left till morning, you will burn what is left. It may not be eaten. It is a holy thing. This is what you will do for Aaron and his sons. Implementing all the orders I have given you, you will take 7 days over their investiture. Okay, this would have to be studied. I'm going to have to go back into this one and I need a little more information on, again, I'm not familiar with all the traditions and ways on how things are explained exactly, what is going on here exactly, right? Except for I get this feeling of how important, again, commitment is, keeping the laws, right? And on how Aaron and his sons are taking care of God, and the people take care of Aaron and his sons. There's a succession there as well, right? Yeah? Okay. The consecration of the altar of burnt offerings. On each of the days you will also offer a young bull as a sacrifice for sin in expiation. Oh. Okay, now this becomes a little bit more clear on how a burnt offering cleanses things. Problems from the past, this and that, to give people a new start. And surely it wasn't easy for them. 7 young bulls. But again, how many people were there? How much livestock did they have? Well, still. You will offer a sin sacrifice for the altar when you make expiation for it. Then you will consecrate it by anointing it. For 7 days you will make expiation for the altar. Then you will consecrate it. It will then be especially holy, and whatever touches the altar will become holy. It's like God is trying to establish a very special connection through what the people already knew. There is a give and take going on there. It's a little bit confusing for me, but the daily burnt offering. This is what you must offer on the altar: 2 yearling male lambs each day in perpetuity. The first lamb you will offer at dawn, and the second at twilight. And with the first lamb, 1/10 of a measure of fine flour mixed with 1/4 of a hin of pounded olive oil, and for a libation, 1/4 of a hin of wine. Ooh. The second lamb you will offer at twilight, and do it with a similar cereal offering and libation as at dawn, as a pleasing smell, as an offering burnt for Yahweh, a perpetual burnt offering for all your generations to come, at the entrance to the tent of meeting before Yahweh, when I shall meet you and speak to you. There I shall meet the Israelites in the place consecrated by my glory. I shall consecrate the tent of meeting and the altar. I shall also consecrate Aaron and his sons to be priests in my service, and I shall live with the Israelites and be their God. And who brought them out of Egypt to live among them? I, Yahweh, their God. That's the end of 29. Through this whole thing, I don't think it is just about the slaughtering and the blood and the, which, of course, I hear people say, well, yeah, of course. The thing is, what is it exactly, right, too? Right? We don't do that anymore, do we? I have to say that when we got ready to prep one of our animals for food, for us, I always had this. First of all, it's very important for me on how they were raised. I wanted happy animals, okay? Animals that had an environment where, they were a little destructive sometimes because they had that environment, but an environment where they could, for as long as they lived, before it was time to give back to us, right, to eat, that they would have a good life. A life worthy of a goat. Yes, for example, or a rabbit. I talked about that before, on how I tried it the other way and it didn't work. It was not worth the just some things that happened that say, this is not right. This is wrong. I'm not doing this like that. I think with like 29 in Exodus, God's trying to really show us this is the right way to do it. This is the right way to do it for us to stay connected, right? Yes? And to, when you get ready to meet me, that there is something that went beforehand that was very specific to prep yourself for our meeting, right? Yes? So when I think again on how we prep to go for meat here, to eat, eventually to be on our table, the prep beforehand was that the goat's life was respected as a part of the principles of creation, right? Again, being a keeper, and a user, but never an abuser. And in that way, right, when that goat eventually, the goat meat was on the table and we're eating it, it was a happy, joyful give and take. Yes? Does that sound a little odd? Well, that sounds odd too, doesn't it? And yet, in a way, that came right away to my mind on how we prepare ourselves to receive something. And that was, in those times, I guess, the best way, right, to on how God could teach the Israelites again, hey, this is me. I am Yahweh. Yahweh. I am. And this is how you prepare. This is, I know that you are capable of doing that. Right? Yes? Yeah. Anyway. And to come before God, right, with a clear conscience. Yes? Yeah. I don't think it would be all that much fun if one were to know exactly with the meat that you have on the table or the vegetables maybe even, right? If you would have been there for the raising of the meat, know exactly what went on, and then it's on your table, right? There's probably going to be a difference between meat that you know this was humanely raised, this was properly raised. This was raised where the animal was given some respect. This meat was raised for just that meat, right? Without any consideration for the life of the animal or on how it was kept or fed in a way. You see, right? There is a difference there, isn't it? Yes. But we just go to the store mainly, buy it, whatever, take it home, cook it, and that is that. Exodus 29 teaches us something after all, doesn't it? Maybe in today's time a little bit in a different way. Yes? Well, there we go. That's all I have to say today on my youngest one's 25th birthday. Wow. It's a Sunday today, too. Oh, yes. Wonderful. God's love and blessings always. May He protect you. And we'll talk to you another time.